Hey, it's Chris Bowling.
Hey, it's Chris Beyer.
We are CB squared.
Hello, hello.
So, Chris, what are we talking about today?
Well, this week, we're going to talk about the second step in our prospective client journey, which we call our discovery meeting. Last week, we shared what it looks like to have an introduction meeting to figure out if we're even potentially a fit to help an employer with their benefit strategy. And today, we are talking about what it means to now go through discovery, gathering that team together and working through step number 2.
So, Chris, what we see out there a lot of times is we bring our big, huge binder with all of our big, shiny tools. We throw all the tools down. Why wouldn't we do that?
Well, I mean, first of all, it doesn't help the prospective client, doesn't help the company. I mean, who cares how long we've been in business, how many employees we have, what our revenue is, that we've got this or that. It doesn't matter for that employer unless we understand what they need. And, with Assured Partners, we have one of the biggest toolboxes out there. We can bring all kinds of resources, both in-house and within our agency network. But if you don't need it, why am I going to show it to you?
Right.
And I think that's a disservice to so many employers, is that we want to try to show off how big and bad we are. And because of that, you're going to hire us. And you and I both believe that's just the wrong way to go about it. We want to know what makes that company unique, what they're doing really well when it comes to benefit strategy, where they rank in that performance spectrum, and then what challenges they're facing and really what they hope to accomplish in that next 2 to 3 years if things were going perfect.
I think that's well said. I mean, you and I have been involved in many RFPs.
Yeah.
And really an RFP is all about bring me your big shiny toolbox. And how many times have we been hired by that company 2 years later because they bought the 1 or 2 things that were bright and shiny.
Yeah.
And they thought that would really solve their problems. But again, they were diagnosing what they thought they needed with really no discovery, no understanding of, well, why do you need that tool? And how is that going to save you time? How is it going to make, your employees' experience better when they have to actually navigate healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about healthcare. I mean, it's the situation if you went in to see your family doctor and just said, I don't feel well, and the doctor automatically wrote you 10 different scripts just to cover everything without asking you any question about your symptoms, what you're allergic to. I mean, they'd be kicked out and lose their medical license and be sued all day long. And I think it correlates so well to the consultant and brokerage community. Hire us because we have all these scripts we can write and we know exactly what you need. No, you don't. You don't know what they need until they can tell you as that employer.
Yeah.
So it's, the beauty of that discovery meeting, why we like it so much, is you and I are both very inquisitive. We like to know what makes that company unique. And a trucking company is not like the other trucking company next door. A manufacturer is totally different from the one next door, maybe even the same, same community or same specific industry. No one is exactly the same. And, we get that team together, whoever would be involved in the long-term strategy and success of that company. We've had CEOs and CFOs, HR directors, operations managers, the controller, sometimes, even some of those location managers, all in that room or virtually. And often that's the first time that they've had the conversation of, what do you interpret when you hear this? And how does your role change when this happens? Right. And that dialogue between positions in the same company sometimes is probably the best outcome, because they're actually talking about something without a crisis and with something that is not just their strategic plan, it's their benefit plan.
Yeah, and it's rare that we even talk about insurance during this. I mean, it's very high level, I mean, tell me what you want your benefit plan to look like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But it's very rare that we're diving into the carriers or anything like that, because, again, that's not going to help you. I mean, one carrier to another carrier is not going to solve the problems over the next 3 years.
No, because that's the end result of which insurance contractor carrier we pick based off of your risk tolerance, your objectives, what you want your employees to feel and experience, what your philosophy is for offering benefits as an employer. At the end of all of that is when you can actually place the right type of insurance contract. And in some cases, like you said, yes, that's one piece of the strategy. There's 8, 9, 10, 12 other areas that impact the operation of that benefit plan that we have to address. You know, when we get together with that group, it's us just listening. You know, we've had situations where, again, we're just asking a question and letting the group respond. We're taking notes, we're listening well, but ultimately it helps that employer understand how they compare to other high performing organizations. The questions we ask are related to the best performers. And then we're identifying all of the financial levers that could and should be pulled by that company to get that best return on their investment. And most of the time, you know, we're talking through levers that a traditional benefit broker is not bringing to that organization. Right. You know, as we continue through, I mean, that CFO and even HR, CEO, it doesn't really matter. The whole room understands how are they going to repurpose the dollars they're already spending? Because you and I both know that often they're spending money on something that isn't getting the right return. And if we just allocate it elsewhere, or then we provide the right tool to fix that situation, they can improve their cost and just help them align the resources that they need better. And then, you know, that discovery meeting really focuses on a modern benefit strategy. You know, Chris, you and I have been working in this industry for quite some time.
Right.
Have we seen any change recently? Is anything different this year than it was last year?
Yeah, just the last 18 months, there's been radical change. And, you know, you and I have always said that, you know, even though COVID was, you know, horrible for this country and for the world, but we both knew that there would be some positive that could come out of it, especially in the healthcare side. And that's exactly what we've seen. So, yes. And my goodness, you know, you go back to when I started in 1990. Things have changed.
Long time ago. Oh man, it's the modern benefit strategy that I think is where we really start to help that employer, because we're taking the ideas and insights that we've had within our experience, our highest performing clients, and then we're building something that's unique for them, that's better performing from a financial standpoint, better received by the employees, and hopefully less burdensome to administer for the company, and especially their HR team, who in the last 18 months have been overwhelmed with extra responsibilities and burdens. And then what's the end result that we'll talk about next week after we get done with that discovery meeting and we hear the input from each of those team members and we listen? What do we do from there, Chris? What's our next step that we'll talk about next week?
Well, the next step is probably what we won't talk about, which is you and I get to spend about 2 weeks really dissecting what we heard. Yes. And we listen to what you're doing very well, which is what we call your strengths. We listen to what obstacles are really holding you back from being high, to really be a high performing health plan. And then we really start looking at opportunities, and what all that is called is a blueprint. So we will actually come back within, 2 to 4 weeks, and we will hand you a blueprint. I'm not sure if we have a copy with us today, but we will show that to you on the screen if we can. If not, you just have to call us and go through it.
And that blueprint is the end result. It takes, like you said, that what they're doing well, their strengths, their obstacles, and their opportunities, and then that's where we deploy the resources. That's when the toolbox comes out. Is here's where you want to be, and now we give you that tool because you've said you need it. We know we have it, and we can quantify what that result will be by putting that in play. It's total departure from bringing that big toolbox, throwing it on the table and saying, hire us because we're who we are. And I mean, it's just a broken old model that isn't useful for employers.
Agree.
Appreciate you listening in today on the discovery meeting. We'll plan to talk more about Blueprint next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.